She only wanted a quiet meal before her baby arrived, a moment of peace in a long, exhausting day. But peace wasn't what she found. When the waitress glanced at her skin, everything changed. The smiles faded, the whispers began, and then the unthinkable happened. A single cruel act turned a simple lunch into a public humiliation. What no one in that restaurant knew, though, was who she really was and the kind of power her pain would awaken. Because this time, silence wouldn't save anyone.
For most of her life, Naomi Carter believed in keeping her head down and staying kind, no matter how the world treated her. At 8 months pregnant, every step felt heavier, but she carried herself with quiet grace, the kind that comes from surviving too much and saying too little. She worked long hours at a small community center, helping other expectant mothers who didn't have much. Her dream was simple: raise her baby in peace, in a world that wouldn't judge him before he could even speak.
That afternoon, rain clouds gathered above the city as Naomi stopped by a diner she'd passed 100 times. It was one of those polished places that smelled like fresh coffee and money, the kind that always made her feel a little out of place. Still, she smiled, placed a gentle hand over her belly, and walked inside.
The waitress noticed her right away. Her smile was tight, her voice clipped, the kind of politeness that hides something colder. Naomi felt it instantly, but tried to brush it off. She just wanted to eat, rest, and feel normal for once. But the way the waitress's eyes lingered on her skin, her clothes, her swollen belly, made something inside Naomi tighten. She didn't know it yet, but this quiet moment, this simple act of sitting down for a meal, was about to spiral into something cruel, public, and unforgettable. Naomi sat by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. The diner was half full, businessmen typing on laptops, couples sharing milkshakes, the hum of quiet conversations. For a moment, she let herself breathe. Maybe it was all in her head, she thought. Maybe the waitress wasn't being rude. Maybe she was just tired. But then the whispers started. A couple at the next booth glanced her way. One of them murmured something under their breath, followed by a short, stifled laugh. Naomi's fork hesitated midair. She pretended not to notice. Pretending was something she'd become good at. When the waitress returned, her tone was sharper, colder. "You sure you can afford this?" she asked, tapping the menu. "We've got cheaper options if you're just looking to sit." Naomi froze. Her heart thudded in her chest, but she forced a polite smile. "This will be fine, thank you." The waitress smirked and walked off, her shoes clicking like punctuation marks against the floor. The people nearby had heard it. Naomi could feel their eyes on her. Some looked away, uncomfortable. Others didn't bother hiding their stares. She wanted to leave, but pride held her still. She'd faced worse, she told herself. A meal shouldn't have to be a battle.
Minutes passed, her stomach turned with hunger, but no food came. When she finally caught the waitress's eye, the woman looked right through her, then laughed at something her coworker whispered. Finally, Naomi stood. Her voice trembled, but stayed steady. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I've been waiting almost half an hour." The waitress didn't answer. Instead, she picked up a glass of water, and before Naomi could step back, the cold splash hit her square in the chest. Gasps rippled across the diner. Naomi stood frozen, water dripping down her dress, her hands trembling over her belly. The waitress muttered something about teaching people manners before turning away. No one moved to help. Not a single voice spoke up. The sound of rain outside blended with the ringing in Naomi's ears, a dull, suffocating silence that said more than any words could. She blinked back tears, every instinct screaming to leave. But then, her phone buzzed. A name flashed on the screen. Dante, her husband. The one man in this city everyone feared, but few had ever met. Naomi's breath caught. She hadn't wanted him to know about any of this. She hadn't wanted her child's father, the man who'd built an empire in the shadows, to see her like this. Vulnerable. Hurt. Humiliated. But as she looked around that diner, at the faces that watched and did nothing, something inside her shifted. The part of her that had always stayed quiet began to burn. Naomi picked up her phone. One text. No words. Just a photo of her soaked dress and the name of the diner in the corner of the image. Then she walked out into the rain, leaving behind the sound of nervous whispers that would soon turn into screams. The next morning, the diner opened its doors like nothing had happened. Same chatter, same coffee smell, but beneath it, an unease lingered, thin as smoke. The waitress joked with coworkers, laughing louder than usual. She thought it was over, that the woman she'd humiliated had slunk away quietly, just another face in the crowd. Then, the cars arrived. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the curb, engines humming low and steady. The doors opened in unison, dark suits, cold expressions, men who looked like they didn't knock twice. The diner went silent. Even the music stopped. Naomi stepped out last. Dry clothes, composed. No anger on her face, just a calm that made the air heavy. The same waitress who had thrown the water froze mid-step, the tray trembling in her hands. Naomi didn't speak. She didn't have to. One of the men, tall, sharp-eyed, walked past her and locked the diner door from the inside. The sound of the bolt echoed like a warning. The waitress stammered, "I didn't mean—" Naomi's gaze met hers, steady and cold. "You meant every word. And now, you'll see what that means." Tears welled in the waitress's eyes. The room was suffocatingly quiet. Every person there, the ones who'd whispered, who'd watched, who'd done nothing, felt that same weight pressing down on them. Naomi didn't raise her voice. She didn't need revenge, just truth. "My husband," she said slowly, "owns this place. Every table, every paycheck, every wall you think protects you." Gasps rippled through the room. The waitress's face drained of color. Naomi turned toward the door, her body trembling but her voice steady. "I wanted peace," she said. "But sometimes, peace needs to be earned." Then she walked out into the rain, leaving behind the sound of nervous whispers that would soon turn into screams.